So now this is on the Hudson. It's a pier that we're on that's pretty much was built out to become like a park. You can see here, that's where we were just a little while ago, across the other side, near the other side of the pier. But it doesn't seem like a pier when you're here. It just seems like part of Manhattan, but it's actually not. They built this out as like a park for everyone to enjoy. And here you can see like different boats and different things that are around here for people to enjoy. And that is the far side, the far western side of Manhattan that you're seeing, where all the people are walking. And so you can see how where we are is actually a pier. And there in the distance again is New Jersey, and people really enjoy that, being out there in New Jersey. But like with this pier, it makes it very enjoyable just to be around here, and especially on a nice summer day. That's one of the reasons why New York was making an effort to make the city more enjoyable, make the city more friendly for the people of New York. Because a lot of times people could have things done just for the benefit of the corporations. But more recently, in the last 3 years or 5 years, they've been making a big effort to make it more of a livable city. And so we're going to go to the end, and there you see a helicopter taking off from the heliport, which is just a little bit away from here. And that's a very interesting sight too, watching the helicopters take off and land. So that could be fun. But we're just going to the end of the pier to take a better look at how it is in New York to enjoy a beautiful park and with the beautiful weather, and see the boats on the Hudson sailing up the Hudson and down the Hudson. And I'm only demonstrating to everyone what it's like to be at the very end of the pier and to be able to see everything as you're walking. So you can see here how beautiful it is. That's looking north. So then we're going to turn around to the left to look south, slowly and gradually turning so that no one gets dizzy. We don't want people to watch this and get dizzy. So there you can see in the distance Jersey City, and that has been an area that has just been transformed, and a lot of big investment companies, a lot of big developers have put up buildings there, and it's become like a Manhattan West. And now the big criticism in Jersey City is that they've been thinking too much about the developers and not so much about the people. And there in the distance you can see the World Trade Center. That's the tallest building there. That replaced World Trade Center 1 and World Trade Center 2. Now it's just World Trade Center 1. But you can see how beautiful it is just to be enjoying the Hudson on the end of this pier. And you can see a boat. That's one of the ferry services there. So extensive ferry services throughout New York. And there in the distance, you can just make out the Verrazano Narrows Bridge. That's the bridge that goes to Staten Island. That's about $17 one way. So from New York to Staten Island, $17. But if you're a resident of Staten Island, you only pay $3. But still, that's a pretty hefty fee to have $17 paid to use a bridge, but people are used to it, and it's a very good method of going over to New Jersey. It saves a lot of time. Another look at the buildings from the pier. So we're looking north out the pier and north of the Hudson, and that triangular building is a recent project done by a famous architect. Now there's a military helicopter. It's flying over. It's Fleet Week, so you expect these military helicopters to fly over. Those are exactly the same helicopters that would fly in Iraq and elsewhere. Here's the area that we saw from the other pier. Now, New York, as I said, has taken a big effort to try to develop the piers and make them profitable. Now, we'll just take a quick look at where we were. Like that pier across the water is the pier that we were looking from. And we're basically now looking at this area that is being used for commercial purposes. And it is a pier, and as I mentioned before, New York City has taken a big effort to develop the piers, make them profitable and very tourist friendly and citizen friendly. You can see the beautiful boat that's out there and the person there to greet the people. She's saying hello to the world. You can see her ready to greet the people all over the world. This is the very top of the pier, so you can see the rail car and the place where we came from. So it's a beautiful sight, beautiful way to spend this day in the summertime. You can see how wonderful it is, and again, it's a 66 Maritime, or the Frying Pan, beautiful restaurant. So what an enjoyable way to spend the day, just looking at the view and being here. So it's just an amazing way they redid everything for this pier. In New York, believe it or not, on the west side, West 30th to be exact, there's a heliport. It's great for people who just enjoy watching planes and helicopters lift off and land. So now, to our left is the heliport area. They basically warn people it's a high wind area due to helicopters landing and taking off. And it is beautiful when people see the heliport and when they see the helicopters landing and taking off, especially during the weekday. A lot of high-profile people want to come into New York, and this is a quick way of doing it. The main heliport is located downtown. That's where the president usually comes in. And this, however, is a heliport that's not as big as the heliport downtown near Battery Park. But you can see here, it's very close to this new Hudson Yards development. And this is where this heliport probably will become increasingly significant with all this development going on here. A lot of the executives will probably come into the heliport, or other people will come into the heliport since there's so much development near here. It'll seem in their minds much more normal to come into the heliport and then go into Manhattan. And I'm sure they're doing it already, but I think with so much business going on, it'll appear much more normal. Here's another part of the area near the Hudson with all these little shops. Again, as I mentioned before, they're trying to make everything much more friendly for people to use, for people to enjoy. And this is a change from many years ago where basically the sides of the Hudson were abandoned because people were not interested in that. But there was a change in the thought process of the city administration, and they wanted people to enjoy this. So you can see here all the people around. This is Fleet Week, by the way, the Memorial Day holiday. So there's a lot of people just exploring the city, exploring the west side of Manhattan where the ships are for the US Navy. Now, this area here is actually dedicated to ferry service, New York Waterway ferry service. You can see how they converted the whole area. They just basically want people to use more of water service versus like subways or buses. And as I mentioned earlier, this was a way that people were going across the Hudson and going around New York 150 years ago, 120 years ago. And you can see here one of the ferries that's there in the distance. We'll take a closer look. At the pier, you see a boat is ready to take off. And then there's this other pier here to our right where another boat is just getting itself underway, preparing. You can't just take off empty. And as you can see, beautiful area around here. And we have a nice little dog right to our side that just needs attention. But you can see him right there. He needs attention. But it's like, he can't stand that someone's speaking and not directing it at him, you know. But here, that's right. And you can see here, beautiful glass atrium for passengers. Now this is the beautiful space for the people for the New York Waterway. You can see they've really gotten like a great idea for the different slips, different passengers, made it state of the art. It's almost like an airport, but really amazing seeing this space here. New York Waterway. And this is just a way of showing everyone in New York and showing everyone in the United States and the world some of the different aspects of New York City. And it's really amazing. And there we're just taking a look, and especially on the colder days or the very hot days, it makes a lot of sense having this indoor space here for people to wait, because the winds blowing down the Hudson can be very cold. So it makes a lot of sense for having space for people to wait in. So as we take a stroll down the Hudson, or up the Hudson, since we're heading north, so we can see a better view of the Intrepid Air and Space Museum. Isn't this magnificent when you see it? And imagine this Intrepid was involved in World War II. Just fascinating when you see this little bit of history, and having it right here in New York. And there's a huge line on this Memorial Day weekend to try to get into the museum. Of course, we won't be going in because it won't make any sense. But as we turn to the right, we can see this huge line of people who just want to see what's in there. And it's a great place to see. A lot of great planes, a lot of great information to see. But today is one of those days when you don't want to see it because it's just too crowded. This is an amphibious ship here with an osprey on the top. Just beautiful seeing this. And there's a submarine right there in the distance. You can almost see it. And it's just beautiful seeing all this. This is part of Fleet Week, part of all the Marines and sailors being in New York. And we're right next to the Intrepid Sea Museum. There, you can see the Intrepid Museum. A lot of people are here for the holidays. And so it's just amazing seeing this. And I'm just very glad. And on Monday, they're allowing people to go into the Intrepid from 8 o'clock until 6 o'clock. And also onto this ship, this amphibious ship, from 8 o'clock until 6 o'clock. Isn't this amazing? Another view of the Coast Guard cutter. You can see all the people on the deck. Usually that's friends and family, because they're trying to be very strict with who gets to see these ships right now, because there's so many people. And that ship in the distance is a Canadian warship. Smaller ship, but that's okay. And but it's very nice to see this US Coast Guard cutter. Really well built, just lovely to see.